What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the latest episode of Games Up podcast. My name is Cameron McCulloch-Keeble. Hopefully, you know me as one-third of the hosts of this show by now. And welcome back again to another episode of our EGX 2016 Indie Developer Interviews. Now, you may have noticed, if you've been listening to these so far, that this one seems a little different to the last. It's a lot shorter. And the reason is because from this week on, we will be having only one interview per week rather than two. And the reason being, these are some of the biggest, coolest and most different shows we've ever made. We're going to be going back and meeting some old friends, and we're going to round up this month with one of the biggest interviews we've ever done. I'm so excited to show you it. But to start us off, we're going to be talking to Mountain Walrus, who have developed a game in VR that uses VR in a way I've never seen it used before. They intended to fix the problem of movement in a VR space, and they approached it in a very novel way. So rather than continue to tell about it, I'll let them tell you about it themselves. We're still here on the show floor of EGX 2016, and something that has dominated my time here this year has been VR experiences. So I'm going to now talk to
Michael McKinnon.
Michael McKinnon of
Mountain Walrus.
And you're going to tell us about your game, which is?
The Tower.
Perfectly done. So tell us what The Tower is, my friend.
Well, the idea started with the looking at the way that games for Roomscale VR were going at the time. And they always added teleportation to get to extra areas that you could move to, expand the area of the game. But once they did that, players would use it to move 5, 10, 2 feet, and they stopped moving around their space. We wanted to get players moving again, so we took away teleportation. And then we have our space within the room, and in order to go to extra space, we move up. So we move up through, and that became the tower, stacking these rooms on top of each other. So we move up through ladders, we move up through ropes, and we solve puzzles to do our moving up using a bow, using archery. So
The Tower is very much a VR game that solves the problem of space by using verticality rather than anything else.
Yes.
Interesting. So it's really interesting that VR is still a very young medium in terms of its general adoption, and we already seem to be solving problems in it. We already seem to be sort of picking out and refining what VR can do.
Yes. Well, there are a lot of assumptions that we make in game development because of years of video games, and we have to throw those assumptions away when we come to VR, because we don't know what's going to work or what we can do that's completely different to what we could get away with or we couldn't get away with in video games before.
So tell me, where did the idea for The Tower come from? How did it all come together?
Just exactly as I said, we needed a way to create new space that didn't use teleportation. So we went up, and that by stacking rooms on, there you have a tower. And
awesome. So something that's really interesting about the booth that you have here in front of us is that it mentions the university that's supporting you. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how it's playing into the game?
Well, the 5 of us are all Abertay University graduates, and 4 of us were master's students during the time that we worked on the game. We were working on our coursework and our projects in the day, and we had to work on the tower on the side at nighttime. Mm-hmm. So, but some of our team would work at the Abertay University. They provided us some space to do our work in the evening, and.
So Abertay University has been a really generally your university experience together has been a really important part of bringing the game into what it is now.
Well, we're all Abertay students, so I don't think we'd have known each other without,
absolutely.
without having Abertay to connect us. And actually, that's one of the good things about going to a university for a game degree is that you get to connect with other people that you can make games with outside of the university.
So it really gave you a great opportunity to network and build something like this.
Yes.
Fantastic. So what's the general response been from the public who have tried the game whilst they've been here?
I think the number one thing that people say when they take off the headset is, "That was awesome."
Fantastic. So you mentioned that there's 5 people developing the game. What do each of those 5 people do?
Well, I'm a producer and a programmer. We have a designer. We have a programmer designer who did some of the audio. we have another programmer, and we have finally a 3D artist.
And when it comes to shows like this with EGX, do you find, or any show in general, you've got people walking around with the Tower UK Tour T-shirts on. Do you find it difficult to sort of have to approach the idea that you'll need this much space to demo the game off in the first place? Or are shows like this, like mainstream shows, getting used to the idea that VR is going to require space?
That's a good question. Because we were with Transfuser coming here, we didn't have the problem of having to fight for the space to start with.
Mm-hmm.
But there are only 2 room-scale VR games being showed that I know of. And NVIDIA has a couple of extra bits. But indie games, there's 2 of them. There's us and there's Hidden Diplomacy on the other side. So there's just the 2 of us, and that may be why.
Absolutely. So tell us when we can get our hands on the Tower. Tell us when we can look out for it.
I am hoping that we will have an early release title available for the end of the year.
Great, fantastic. And if we wanted to follow your company and you guys in the game going forward on social media or online, where would we do that?
Well, we have a Mountain Walrus Facebook page. You can find us on our website, which needs more things on it, is mountainwalrus.com. And hashtag the Tower on Twitter, or mountain_walrus on Twitter.
There you go, mountain_walrus on Twitter, or all the important websites. Thank you very much, and we wish you the best of luck with the game.
Thank you.
Cheers. So that, ladies and gentlemen, was this week's interview from EGX 2016. Thank you very much to the developers for joining us. We always appreciate it. If you liked what you heard here, please feel free to drop us a like so that we know you liked it and so that we can continue making this kind of stuff, and maybe even subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss any of the interviews we put out in future, and believe me, you won't want to miss the last one. If you really, really liked what you heard here, we've got some social media channels. We've got a Facebook page and a Twitter page. They're in the description below. Feel free to take a look at those links if you feel so inclined. And other than that, we will see you next week for the very first of our catch-up episodes, the first we've ever done. But until then, the game's up.